Okay, can you guys see my screen? Say yes, no, okay, thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Satish, everyone can hear me, right?
Yes, Sharath.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Let's get started. Thanks everyone for joining. People who are joined from India, a very good evening and warm welcome to everyone. People who joined from abroad, a very happy morning to everyone. In this session, as the title suggests, I'm going to share how a Scrum Master day looks like, a typical day looks like in entire 8-hour frame, what are his or her activities which he is going to perform for the entire day, and as part of a typical week, what are the different areas that he or she is going to focus on so that it derives some business value to the end customer, right? So this is what I'm going to focus on, and in generic also I'm going to share few thoughts with respect to how Scrum Master, days look like, right? Yes. So with respect to mine, this is Sharath Adsumille, Agile coach. I've been with working with HDFC Ergo as a VP Agile Digital Product Innovation, and have total 17 plus years of experience in program product management, project management. And coming to Agile space, I've been into Agile space for the past 10 years. I've been into training, coaching people for the past few years, but internally only. I'm not an authorized, authorized trainer as part of CBST and all. But people who are looking for a Scrum Master awareness and coaching kind of things, without certification, I do train and coach people depending on the need of the hour. So coming to the topic today,
Sharath, we are still on the first slide. Typical day of a Scrum Master.
Right. Yeah, I'm still on the first one. I'm about to.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So this
and
is
there is a question. Can you be a little bit louder?
Okay.
Thank you.
How about now?
Yes.
Does it help?
Yes.
Let me recheck. Oh, I think
yes.
I have used them. How about now?
Yes, Sharath.
Okay. Yeah. This is a little bit about my introduction, and with respect to the kind of certification that we have that are available in the market, depending on the need of the hour. I also did few certifications that helped me elevate my career. Okay. And I think we need to minimize. Yeah. Okay. So Scrum Master, right? This is one of the most demanding roles in market today, right? And one of the most responsible roles also, right? Because Scrum Master is the one who has a 360-degree connect with all the team members, right, across the teams, and ensure that team follows, good amount of agile practices to ensure that they create business value, right? So in my view, when you start your day as a Scrum Master, right, what I used to do is, first to have a connect with the people, right? That is how I see it, because um, in any organization on any day, people come with a diversified mindset on a day-to-day basis, right? Whether it's good or bad, right? So it's good to have people connect when you start your day. You're either meeting or greeting people, or you can have a little tea break just to ensure that you talk to people on how things are going, what you did yesterday, things like those, which will help us to understand each other and set the things on the ground, right? Set the rest of the day to collaborate with everyone, right? So from my view, it's good to have a people connect before you jump into the daily activities. Okay. And then once that is done, obviously I will jump into any of the ALM tools that we are using, right? Preferably Jira, because Jira has, preferably Jira, because we worked on that ALM tool when I was in the past, and today also, even in my current organization, we are using Jira. So just to understand like where our project is going, right? Whether the stories are properly logged in the backlog or not, whether they have properly written with acceptance criteria and everything, and those are properly refined or not, right? You might be having few stories that might be added, that needs to be deleted, or some stories that needs to be modified. So just to have a quick look of how the backlog is looking like, and then looking at the reports, right? Burn down charts and how things are going. Are people updating, status properly or not? Are they inputting their efforts properly or not? Are they inputting the basic comments and everything or not? So just to have a quick check of how things are looking in Jira, then you need to ensure that. Then what I used to do is jumping into the ceremonies, right? Your day starts with, I don't say daily scrum, preferably it starts with daily scrum. With if you're handling a big project, it might be starting with one daily scrum, I mean per day, right? Or if you're handling multiple products, you might be having multiple scrums for different products, right? So that's how you start your day. Or it can be planning call also first, and after that scrums for daily stand-ups for different products. So ensure that if it is a daily scrum, people are joining, everyone is joining, and talking about, it's about all about development teams event, right? A daily scrum. They should call out like what they did yesterday, what they are planning to do today, and to complete today's work or tasks. Are there any impediments or issues, right, that are stopping them from doing that, right? That is how daily scrum starts. In daily scrum, there are few do's and don'ts, but I don't want to go deep into that because we need to cover a lot of areas where a scrum master needs to focus on. These things will be covered separately as part of trainings. And one thing we need to capture is it's not only individual impediments. So, for example, developer is talking about his impediment with respect to some environment is not available, or a tester is talking about some data is not available. Instead, they need to talk collective impediments also. Say, for example, a developer needs some database access, based on which once that is accomplished and data is provided, then only the testing will be done, right? Here, both have a dependency. Both developers and testers have a dependency. And in turn, developers might be having dependency on designers, right? So collective impediments also you need to track to ensure that those are addressed. Those are properly tracked by the Scrum Master, and those are addressed depending on the ETS or SLEs, depending on the priority, right? So that is how you do your daily Scrum. Then, depending on multiple products, you might be having planning calls also. Where in planning call, I used to check first whether the stories are properly prioritized or not, right? Whether the stories are properly groomed and prioritized and estimated, right? And also estimated, so that based on that, the development team can check their capacity to see how much they can commit, right? To see how much they can commit and ensure that they provide the right commitments, right? Also, we ensure that we arrive at the proper sprint goal or not. These are the basic sanity checks which we used to do as part of the sprint planning. In fact, from my side. Also, one thing that we need to keep in mind, right, when we are going for the sprint planning call, we should ensure that we means here the development team needs to ensure that they are not providing, like over committing under delivery or under committing over delivery. This should be needs to be avoided as much as possible. How it happens is over committing under delivery means team know that they have least capacity, but they ended committing more stories because of pressure from the product owner side, or just to please the product owner or something, right? And after committing that, while executing in the sprint, ultimately it's the development team who are at stake. So they need to avoid that over commitment, under delivery, and under commitment, over delivery, right? Sometimes what it tends to happen is Development teams, even though they have good amount of capacity, they commit only very less amount of stories, right? Which or tasks that they need to execute. And during the middle of the sprint, they commit few more. At the end of the sprint, they claim themselves saying that they have over delivered, achieved the more than expected, which is again giving a wrong picture to the product, right? So we need to ensure that people who are not talking, please go on. So we need to ensure that development teams always provide the right commitments when it comes to the sprint planning. Then obviously demos will touch depending on where the product is at that point of time. Usually at the end of every sprint we do one demo, right? It is also called a sprint review, right? The main crux of the sprint review is to ensure that we demo whatever we have developed. From the developer side, and they have to take feedback from the client or product, right? Based on the feedback, it might be verbal feedback where you need to ensure that that is incorporated as part of the software development, or it might be bugs, right? Bugs where you need to address those bugs and ensure that your software is free of bug, right? So either way, you need to capture that feedback and also ensure that feedback is also captured as part of any confluence or in any document that is attached to Jira ticket or whatever format that you can. And in a typical day or in a typical week, you also touch retrospectives, right? For the product where the sprint got completed, you will touch with retrospectives to identify what went well, what did not go well, and any areas of improvement, right? That is how you see primarily. What went well might be, the product owner has responded on time, we got data on time, Scrum team collaborated well. So these kind of things might come up, right? We have delivered earlier than expected. So these kind of things might be, what went well. What did not go well might be, we didn't get data on time, right? The dependencies are not solved. Team members went on leave without any notice, right? So these kind of some few things might come up, or with respect to any software approvals. Approvals didn't come on time, because of which we are unable to build the product at the right time. These kind of challenges might be there, which you call it out as things that didn't go well, right? And those in turn might convert as a action items also. But to run a very good retrospective, what we suggest usually is to ensure that whatever the retrospective action items are there, those are tracked timely on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis, depending on the intensity of the action items, and ensure those are fixed so that over the time your application stability will get improved, right? So that is how you need to run the retrospectives. Of course, there are different ways in which we do retrospectives. Techniques are there, which I'm not going to go deep into that. We'll have separate sessions for that. Okay. So this is how you, as a Scrum Master, you focus on few of the activities, right? As part of your day. And the other thing is with respect to preparation of the sprint reports, right? Which is one of the key activities where in the sprint report, you can mention the velocity of the team, right? You can mention the how the burn down chart is looking like, right? How the scope is changing, right? Scoping and descoping, and what are the items that got addressed as part of that sprint, stories, and what are the stories that got moved to the next sprint. So with this, and if you have any testing metrics, that also you can project as part of the sprint report, right? That's what I have put here as agile metrics. Agile metrics, basically we refer to the velocity, right? Velocity is nothing but number of story points delivered by the team in a sprint. Then burn down charts. Most of you people might be aware of burn down charts. Then epic level report, right? Usually in traditional ways of working, customer needs are divided into requirements, right? Classified into requirements in the form of BRD. But when it comes to agile ways of working, we try to classify those requirements into epics, features, stories, and tasks or subtasks, right? Stories, tasks, and under that you will create the subtasks. This is how you uh, classify the requirements, right? So based on that only reporting also will be there. You'll have epic level report, feature level report. Then story level, you can track the number of story points delivered, which we are seeing as a velocity. Then you can track scope change. Scope change is nothing but what are the story points that you have committed, how many points got added, how many points got removed, right? Stories got removed. So basis that you will arrive at the scope change, right? Then you can track estimation variance because uh, initially you will have estimation variance at a very high level, estimations at a very high level might differ from the estimation, detailed estimations at the sprint level. So it is good to track the estimation variance also, which I used to track. And whatever the activities which I am telling as of now, these activities juggle within a typical week. So in an entire day, all these activities might come into place or few of the activities might come into place, right? But I'm sharing with you in an overall typical week how things are going to work, what are the different areas that we need to focus on, right? Then the next thing is obviously with respect to the collaboration with the product owner, right? Product owner is the one who gives us, whatever the raw requirements that we get from the business, we will try to convert that into proper epics, features, and stories in Jira, and he will share with us, right? So once that is done, Scrum Master will ensure that um, product owner will ensure that those are already incorporated in Jira. But if sometimes if product owners are immature, Scrum Master will help out at the initial stages to ensure that those are incorporated in Jira. But once the product owner understands what needs to be done and he is properly trained on that, then they will take care of that. If the product owner is aware right from the beginning itself, then he or she will take care of those things. Right? Then product we need to Scrum Master needs to ensure that product owner is prioritizing the stories, right? Basically, it's the responsibility of the product owner to ensure that stories are properly prioritized, right, and shared with the team in Jira. But in case of buddy product owners or people who are not aware, Scrum Master can help out, right, in prioritizing those stories and helping them understand few techniques, right? So that is how Scrum Master can collaborate with the product owner. Also, with respect to the backlog refinement, product owner needs to ensure that, as I told earlier, if there are any new stories that needs to be added, uh, any stories that needs to be deleted, which are obsolete and don't make any sense, those need to be deleted. Then stories needs to be modified as needed, right? And here he can use prioritization techniques as Moscow, right? Must have, should have, could have, would have, those kind of techniques. So if these things are not aware by the PO by any chance, Scrum Master will ensure that he is properly trained over there. Then impediments I've already discussed. Impediments are nothing but issues. So we need to ensure that whatever we need to maintain an impediment tracker, which helps us to understand if there are any compliance issues, compliance approvals, infra-related, for example, as I told, database access, whitelisting, or team needs access to particular environments, right? Any technical dependencies, so which are becoming a hurdle to develop the product. So those needs to be closely tracked as part of the impediment tracker. There is no defined template as such. You can create your own template, right? And yeah, these are a couple of activities. And how about the teams which are not into Agile, right? Teams which are in waterfall, which are following waterfall ways of working. most of the time, and you have to transition them into agile ways of working. So first of all, we need to help them understand the need of the hour, why we are doing, what is the purpose, and how we are going to, what are the benefits that we are going to derive, right? A small workshop that will help people to understand the need of the hour. Then we will give them proper training, and depending on the need of the hour, we will provide coaching also, right? So Scrum Master also ensures that we provide proper training and coaching to the team members, right? Preferably, I used to train people in advance on a weekly basis. Every Friday, I used to train people on agile practices, so that irrespective of the line of business, when the need comes with respect to executing the project in agile ways, people are ready, and they feel confident to collaborate, right? So that is how I used to plan things. And then with respect to following the principles, right? Um, for any Scrum Master to make a difference with respect to any product, he or she needs to ensure that whatever the 12 agile principles that are mentioned as part of the manifesto, right? In different situations, we need to ensure that those are followed, and we need to measure those practices, those principles, sorry, um, to ensure that people are following those, right? And say, for example, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software, right? Which is our first principle, right? So are we giving customer the first priority, or our project goals or and project milestones that we need to check, right? To satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of software. How it is possible unless you have highly energized teams, high performing teams, which will help you to deliver the product on time, and you have a seamless CI/CD pipeline in place. Even though you have developed the product, unless you have seamless CI/CD pipeline in place, it will be difficult for you to deliver the product to the end customer on time. So do we have those things in place or not? How far we are with respect to the maturity in terms of DevOps tools and connectivity and everything. So all these things we need to check. Then only we can assume that, or we can come to an understanding that first principle is met to certain extent, right? Uh, Same like other principles, right? Delivering software from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, preferably shorter time scale. How you ensure? You need to ensure people are delivering in sprints, right? Which ensures a couple of weeks. A couple of months is still a old concept. People are, to my knowledge, industry standard is 2 weeks, or mature teams they take 1 week in terms of sprints, right? Preferably shortest time frame. Ultimately, how quickly you are able to deliver the end product to the customer, that is important, right? You might be having a number of processes, systems in place, but how quickly you are delivering the product to the end customer, that is how a customer gauge you with respect to the team's performance of the product. So you need to ensure once you start delivering continuously with respect to the cadence, then only you ensure that the second principle is met, right? Then face-to-face conversation, there are good amount of other principles. So we need to ensure as a Scrum Master, people are following these agile principles. I'm not talking about all the 12 principles, just to give a gist of it. Then with respect to the practices, right? It's all about how, see, agile agile practices, there are a lot of practices that we have in place, right? With respect to, say, for example, with respect to stories, you have proper description or not, you have proper acceptance criteria or not, are you following definition of ready or not, definition of done or not, right? Whether the uh, teams are following any engineering practices, right? Whether it can be with respect to unit test automation or TDD, BDD, right? Not all, not all, every all teams needs to follow. It depends on the need of the work, right? Where we need to check whether we are following those practices or not. With respect to the product owner, right? Whether he or she is properly slicing the stories or not. Whether they are following invest criteria for writing the stories or not. Okay? So these are good amount of practices where a scrum master can check from time to time depending on the need of the other, right? And then the other thing is with respect to the product level understanding, right? These days, Scrum Master also needs to ensure that what are the products that they are developing. Suppose when I was working with one of the companies, we used to develop the banking product. So it can be savings account, current account, or credit cards or loans. You need to have overall, at least basic understanding. In fact, if possible, deep understanding of the product. That will help you to drive, right, in line with the team and drive the product to ensure that the uh, the collaboration is taking place and people are delivering on time, right? If you don't have proper product knowledge, it is difficult for you to sync up with the team and understand where they are moving, how the strategies are changing, what kind of MVPs they are developing. So it is difficult to understand, right? So it is always equally important to have very good product understanding in place as Scrum Master. So from my side also, I used to focus more on the product level understanding with whatever the documentation that is available with the product team. Even in HDFC Ergo, ours is a product organization, not a service organization. So understanding the products uh, plays a key role here. And one thing which I used to do is with respect to the technical understanding. Technical understanding may be, understanding um, how the product goes to through the its entire journey in terms of development, testing, right? With respect to development, whether we can follow any good practices, right? Peer reviews, code reviews, those kind of things. Then testers, whether we are providing proper testing metrics or not, right? Then internal technical dependencies will be there, right? Whether it can be whitelisting or with respect, currently we are using new technologies like AI, ML or AWS. So at least you need to have some basic understanding of those applications and technology, so that that will help you to drive the projects, right? And yeah, that is with respect to the technical understanding. And all the next thing is all products that we develop, at the end of the day, we thrive for customer experience only, right? How far the customer got satisfied with respect to the way we develop the product, what are the we keep in as a customer centricity as the focus, right? And see whether we have we are able to reach the customer expectations or not. We'll take the feedback and improve on the feedback from time to time. Right? So these are the core areas, different areas where um, as a Scrum Master, we need to focus on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, right? Juggling the tasks here and there, depending on the need of the hour. Apart from that, I have also listed few other roles and responsibilities, which I used to track uh, as part of Scrum Masters initiatives. Few of them which I have already shared with you folks, and let me talk about, yeah, Jira updates I have already discussed with you folks. We need to understand irrespective of any ALM tool, it's not only Jira, Rally or Azure board, whatever, whether the teams are properly updating required information or not, right? Their updating status or not, comments or not. Based on that only we can arrive at the right metrics. Otherwise, it is difficult for us as a Scrum Master to arrive at the right metrics, and we can't be able to project any kind of metrics to the leadership also, right? And PO updates, as I told already, Then with respect to backlog refinement, I think I've already discussed. And yeah, with respect to the capacity planning, right? Capacity planning is also one of the key initiatives which is Scrum Master should care for. Obviously, if you have a number of good amount of people as part of your team, you need to list them out. Then um, uh, you need to put the initial capacity, which is by default if you are following a 2 week sprint, right? It's almost 80 hours, right? Then you ensure whatever the vacations, other meetings are there, those are deleted. Those are minus from the initial capacity so that you can arrive at the total capacity, right? Then based on that, how much percentage he or she is occupied. That depends on how good team members are logging their tasks and hours in Jira, right? Based on that, you can arrive at how much percentage of people are occupied, right? How much percentage each and every resource is occupied. Right? Once you have that, then you arrive at the final capacity, which you can share with the team members as well as the leadership, so that resources will be properly allocated to other assigned to other projects as needed, right? That is with respect to the capacity planning. Of course, when you dig deep into it, like a few other steps also needs to be taken care. And then release planning, right? That is also one of the key areas which I used to care for. We need to ensure we create proper versions in place. And once those versions are created, those whatever the stories that are completed, we'll attach to those versions and will be added as part of a release, particular release, right? That release management, we will create a plan, broader release plan for 3 months, 6 months as needed for the leadership. And we also ensure that Jira is updated with the release planning, whatever the releases that we have for that particular week or particular month, right? PO Connect, I have already mentioned. You always need to ensure that as a Scrum Master, you need to be in touch with the product owner to understand what are the requirements, are they properly prioritized or not, right? And yeah, that needs to be taken care. And also, product owners' availability should not be a concern. That product Scrum Master needs to ensure that product owner is available on time. If there are any challenges in terms of availability, he or she needs to check what are the challenges that are leading them to their unavailability. Based on that, if any meeting schedules needs to be fine-tuned, that needs to be done, right? And yeah, with respect to the metrics, I have already discussed about velocity, burn-on charts, commitment, scope changing, estimation values in my earlier talk. Right? Then about trainings, as I told, usually, typically from my side, I used to train on Fridays, even today. For 1 week, I train people on Scrum. Then another week, depending on the need of the hour, we train on Kanban. And another week, I train on Jira, right? Irrespective of ALM tool, it can be Jira running. So it will ensure as a complete module, people are trained on these agile practices as well as tools, right? So that will help them to start working on particular project. Workshop is a practical ways of working to ensure that it's not only theoretical, right? People who are new to these agile practices and agile concepts and all, it's like a Greek and Latin for them. Even though they try to grasp through, our training and all, still it will be a challenge for them. So a good workshop with practical examples and some activities will help them to get on board very well before they start working on the projects. Even though they start working on the project, they might face challenges, but Scrum Master will be available, ensure he or she is available all the time to provide proper, uh, depth level, topic level, any training that is needed, small sessions or coaching, right? People are aware of those, say, for example, estimations, people are aware. But when it comes to executing in a project, they're struggling. So you conduct a small session for them to ensure they understand how to do the high level estimations, detailed estimations using t-shirt sizing, right, or using story points. So small workshops or a big workshop that will help everyone to get a practical understanding. Right? These are the few areas which he or she needs to take care. Then, with respect to the agile practices, which I already discussed earlier, these are the good amount of listed practices which you can track with your team as needed, right? As needed. I don't say on a daily basis, but as needed, you need to check they are slicing the stories properly or not, preferably horizontal slicing, right? Sorry, vertical slicing, right? Vertical slicing is slicing the stories based on the rules, based on the workflows, based on the based on the uh, different criteria, based on different criteria. Sorry, based on different criteria that we have, whether they are properly slicing the stories or not, that we need to check. And stories, whether they are properly splitting into different categories or not, right? And story writing, whether they are following any invest criteria or any other approach to write the stories, whether they are properly writing or not. Here, story writing from the product owner perspective, right? And acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is all about whether they are adding, suppose my story is as a user, I should be able to log in, right? So that I can see the uh, I can see the initial page, right? So for login page, you need to ensure you have the basic screen. You need to have that small square box where you can enter the login details. Then you need to have the alphabetical criteria, right? Alphanumerical criteria. Then once you log in, it needs to show the login pop-up. So this will ensure that the complete login pages story is delivered. So what are the steps which I told are nothing but the acceptance criteria, right? Which will help the development team to ensure that they have delivered the right story, right? And testers also, it will help them to validate whether they have properly tested or not with respect to the mentioned criteria. So that is about the acceptance criteria. Estimations, um, if teams are new, we need to ensure that we train them on the estimation, how we do at a very high level and at a sprint level. If teams are already mature, then it's the role of the Scrum Master, one of the responsibilities of the Scrum Master, to facilitate these estimation sessions. Either they might follow Fibonacci series or relative estimation method, or we can use a party poker method. There are different methods in which we can do the estimations. Then so how you do these estimations, right? When a product start getting developed, right? Sorry, when the product is in the initial stages of getting into requirement stage, that is where leadership or someone asks for a very high level project plan, right? Which will help them to project in terms of how the project is going to be, right? At that time, at least you need to ensure the requirements are finalized so that you can go further high level estimates using t-shirt sizing, right? That is how you do it. And once everything is finalized, once the store require high level requirements are converted into epics, features and stories, and at the sprint level you ensure that you do the story point estimation, right? Or 40%. That is how you do it, right? Usually as a scrum master, that is what I also used to follow. Then effort updates, which we already discussed. Team members need to ensure that they update efforts in Jira on a daily basis as and when they come across any new task also. So which will help us to uh, understand how much they are occupied versus availability, right? And if as a Scrum Master, if you are having multiple teams that you are working on, and you are there is nothing like in industry wide they follow Scrum Masters, senior Scrum Masters, chief Scrum Master. Different roles are there depending on the need, but Scrumware didn't prescribe anything as such. But if you are a person who are handling multiple teams and you want to track those teams, one of the best ceremonies that suggested is Scrum of Scrums, right? In Scrum of Scrums, you as a senior Scrum Master, um, have a meeting with Scrum Masters for the respective products and see what are the impediments that we have, what are the challenges we have, what are the needs we have. Are there any interdependencies that will help us to that we need to resolve to ensure that products can be delivered on time? So these are the certain things which a Scrum Master can use these event for Scrum of Scrums. And leadership coaching, this at the Scrum Master level is a little too high, but uh, about a Scrum Master who's been in the organization for a long time, and the organization treats him or her as a senior. They go more into the apart from team and program level, they go a little bit into the leadership level and start doing the leadership, training and coaching and practices. And that is one area. And yeah, it's good to have understanding about the delivery pipeline also, which we call it as CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment, right? It's good to have a understanding on DevOps area also, and QA automation and reports, right? If your team or teams are following still manual basic routine, how to help them to arrive at automation, right? Even though you are not aware technically how to do that, recommending these kind of initiatives so that respective teams will initiate and take things forward, right? So that is one of the areas where as a Scrum Master you can recommend that. To be honest, from my side, I didn't get a chance to work in terms of driving the QA automation, but usually the metrics used to be tracked uh, when I used to be a Scrum Master. And another thing is with respect to yeah, self-organized teams, right? Self-organized team, the concept of self-organized teams will become a myth unless you follow certain key traits, right? You need to empower the teams, right? Team members needs to be highly motivated. They need to be empowered in terms of decision making. They should be in a position to handle the impediment themselves with a minimal intervention from the Scrum Master. We are consistently performing those kind of traits, right? Those kind of teams, we call them as a self-organized teams because almost they are managing things themselves, right? Um, so people might be getting a doubt like if people are self-organized, then is the Scrum Master role getting extended, right? There is nothing case like that. If a particular team gets self-organized, Scrum Master will be assigned to next set of teams where he can start, training and coaching those teams to get to agile ways of working. Right? Then, with respect to high performing teams, um, high performing teams concept can be achieved through a certain steps, which I will go through in a separate session. Uh, and then cross-functional teams, right? Cross-functional teams means teams working for each of the teams working together for a shared purpose, right? And also cross-functional teams ensure that they are acquiring T-shaped skills, right? We have something called I-shaped skills, T-shaped skills. I-shaped skills means focusing only on the core skill set, whereas T-shaped skill set is all about, see, as a Scrum Master, uh, having a core understanding on agile practices and frameworks is my core skill set. Apart from that, if I'm focusing on DevOps area, if I'm focusing on coaching area, if I'm focusing on product area, right? Those are my T-shaped skills, right? So that is how we recommend team members also to ensure they are acquiring those skills. And agile center of excellence, right? That is also one of the key areas. Uh, building an agile center of excellence is also a key, which again, this is not recommended by any framework or any methodology. But it's good to have the center of excellence in place where we have where we recommend what are the best practices that we can adopt. We can recommend best templates where we need to ensure that best practices we are tracking or not. Are we recommending the right tools, right? So all these things those can be achieved by having the center of excellence in place so that it can be spread across the organization. And last but not the least, with respect to transformation, it depends on what kind of transformation that organizations are looking for. Whether they want to transform from waterfall to agile ways of working, or from team level to scaled agile transformation, or business transformation, technical transformation. It is depending on the need of the hour, what kind of transformation that we are looking for. So as a Scrum Master, you can also play a role over there. Even though it's not in entirety, you can support those initiatives. Right? So with this, I think I have covered how I used to work as a Scrum Master, focusing on different areas, and also what are the different areas we as a Scrum Master can focus on a day-to-day basis in a typical week. Right. So with this, I'm done from my side. Satish, can we open the forum for questions?
Sure, sir. We already started getting some questions on the chat. So Umesh has a question on please guide on change adaptation. So change adoption.
Okay. For any team, right? When it comes to change, a lot of resistance will be shown, right? It may be because they are habituated to their traditional practices, or there might be a number of reasons. So when we are trying to introduce any change, first we need to help the teams understand what is the change and what is the importance of the change, and how it is going to impact the internal teams as well as to the end customer, right? Once we explain that change, then obviously people have any questions or any apprehension, they will come back, and once we clarify those apprehensions, if you have a change board in place, you need to ensure that that is part of the change board. But in agile ways of working, right, we don't have change board like in most of the organizations, right? We track those changes directly in Jira and ensure that those changes are implemented, right? Does it help you? Or if they have any questions, they can.
Yeah, Umesh, you have any other further question?
Got it. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. And we got one feedback from Swastik that we could have taken a pause in between for a question and answers. It could be better. Yes, thanks, Swastik. We made a note of it. So, any questions? Anyone want to add any points or any questions?
Yes, I do have some questions. Hi, good evening.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I was trying to ask is I have a couple of questions. First would be someone from an agile team transitioning into a Scrum Master. What would that take? And how should one prepare for that transition if somebody is actually not doing a Scrum Master role on a regular basis? Okay. So that would you like to answer, or shall I put all the questions at once, or shall we go one by one?
Let me try to address your first question. We'll go one by one.
Sure.
To my understanding, if I understand correctly, say for example, a developer want to become a Scrum Master, right?
Correct.
And what are the initial things that he or she needs to ensure is taken care of? Right? The first thing that I suggest them is to go through the blogs and videos, whatever we have in YouTube or Google or whatever. That will help them. I know they might get only 5% of the understanding, not 100%, right? I'm saying only 5%, if not even 10%. but that will help them to at least understand the ABC of it, right? Then once that is done, what I suggest is to go through a proper training, right? Proper Scrum training, or if you are looking for Kanban, go for a Kanban training, where 60 to 70% of your doubts or apprehensions or the way that you need to approach will get resolved. And at that point of time, you will get more confident on how things work in a practical world. So once your training is done, then the next step I suggest is to mentor with someone. Whoever is the senior person who has good amount of experience, cannot be the senior person only, but preferably senior person who has good amount of experience, who will guide you on the practical ways of working, right? How things work on the ground and what are the challenges that you face, because they might be having a better understanding. So it's good to have a mentor with you in place. And over a period of time, once you get accustomed to taking the mentor's suggestions and everything, and you are executing at the real time, you are facing some challenges and you are overcoming, that will help you grow as a strong Scrum Master. So this is the steps or path I suggest for a non-Scrum Master to become a Scrum Master.
Thank you.
So just to add on, Sharath, let me share my screen once quickly.
Please go.
So yeah, just to add on, like one more point is like, see, these are the different roles which any of us as a Scrum Master we are supposed to play, right? The 8 different roles coming into context. So especially when we start with the team member playing the role of Scrum Master, right? We might be, majority of the time, we might be focusing on the facilitation, but not on the other things, right? So if in case you want to move into the full-time Scrum Master role, or like a seasoned Scrum Master or a dedicated Scrum Master, whatever the terminology it could be, you yourself can do an assessment and see how can I play the role of a coach for my current team? How can I be the mentor for my current team? How can I start playing the role of impediment remover, or the where am I on the servant leadership? So each and every stance, you yourself can try to do an assessment and see whether you are playing that, or whether you need some help or some guidance, some assistance in start playing that. You can have a conversation with your other Scrum Masters who within your organization, or maybe any agile coach, or you can have a conversation with your reporting manager as well, right? Because they also should be helping you or mentor, guide you on how you can move to that full-time Scrum Master role. Right? So start with this, like as Sharath mentioned, there is also the points. You can get the idea how you can move into what's the steps you might take, or you need to go ahead and start moving into the full-time Scrum Master role. Does it answer your question, Swasti?
Yes, it does.
Sure.
Satish, can I add a point here? If you allow me?
Definitely.
Because I come from a similar background, so I understand this problem.
Please go ahead with it.
Because I have roughly 15 years of experience, and out of that 10 years is as a pure developer. So when I moved to this Scrum Master or the Agile bit in there, as Satish and Sharath both mentioned, it's always good to have start that early, because that's not a Agile journey is not a sharp cut, or you can say cut from the developer role and you can start a Scrum Master, or cut from the waterfall you can start. It's a journey. You need to understand the process. And what a developer, or especially the developer who's having like 5-6 years of experience, if they directly start the Scrum Master role, there are 50% or more than 50% chances that instead of guiding the team as an Agile team, they will influence by the team member itself, that why we need to do this, why we need to do the retrospective, it's a waste of time, why we need to do the backlog grooming, we'll see the story once it's come, and we need to have a proper design first we start it. So when you're coming from a developer background, it's take a while to come out of that mindset to move towards a Scrum Master mindset, because Scrum Master, many organizations don't think that that's a critical role, but if you understand it, it's a very critical role, because that person is doing something without any authority. That person don't have any authority. He need to guide people, you need to influence people, and for that you need a vast sort of a knowledge and that sort of a skill set which will come with time. So as Satish mentioned, as if you're doing a developer role, try to do some training, try to get some certifications to get the theoretical part of that, but at the same point of time, try to observe few Scrum Master around you and see how they tackle the real-time problem, because it's not rocket science, but it's something which is not very easy, because people think about that Scrum ceremony is the Scrum Master, but that's not the case. There are lots of other things which a Scrum Master needs to do on day-to-day basis to become a good person who can help a team to be agile or to move from one stage of agile to another stage of agile. Because if you see the organizations, there are organizations who are deploying or saying doing CI/CD as an agile team within 7 minutes per release or something, and they are organization, they're still struggling that why we need to do 2-week sprints or 4-week sprints. So it's a journey. So just a heads up as a developer, a suggestion to you.
Yeah, that's a good example.
That was really exciting. No, even I was also thinking of the same thing, that that transition is going to be a little tough, because without being able to influence someone, we will definitely be influenced by someone who in the team, and that is going to be like we will ourselves be needing that assistance other than being able to.
It's not about influencing at all. I don't know where influencing came into it. It's all about helping them understand the importance of it and what is the purpose we are going to achieve and what is the benefit we are going to arrive at. If we are helping them to understand that any stakeholder, it can be developer, tester, or whoever designer, then they will that will ignite a thought in their mind that okay, this is how things work. This is how we are going to transition from waterfall to agile base with these methods, with these practices. Okay, why can't I try out and give a shot, right? That is how people.
Correct, Sharath. What you're saying is correct. But the thing is, now we see many of the teams have already transitioned. This waterfall is very, very rarely followed into any coming new projects. And given the advance in this cloud-based technology since the last 5 years, I think nobody is doing a waterfall model on a cloud-based project system. We support projects, complete development projects, infra projects, anything. So in that kind of a situation, when people are already 5 to 8 to 10 years experience in what they are doing, they will definitely would like to, make their voices heard in the project. Somebody coming as a Scrum Master, they may or may not agree to what they are trying to inculcate among themselves, right? So that becomes a very difficult, challenging part. And the basic thing starts with the story point estimation. Why it's 3 point, why it's 4 point. Those games go on all the time. Yeah.
That's why you need to have good reasons for that.
Yeah, and one more question that I wanted to ask. I often hear this from various team members or others also, that Scrum Master job is not a full-time job. It doesn't require to be a full-time job. So somebody who is in a mid to high level of experience in the team can additionally take the role of a Scrum Master and coach and mentor them and help them clear those impediments and all. So how true is it? I did see the things you shared, the responsibilities and everything, but when things, if I would like to point specifically something when it comes to backlog or anything, it's definitely the role of the Scrum Master to facilitate there is a proper refinement and grooming. But given the chance, it is also a product owner's role, right? So it's a combined role that comes into picture. So no single person is responsible, and if you see who spends the maximum time on it, should be the product owner instead of the Scrum Master. So in considering all these kind of scenarios, like can the product owner and Scrum Master be the same person in use? Or no, that's a wrong thing.
Satish, you want to give a shout on that?
Why do we need a Scrum Master? Right. See, the product owner might be forcing, pressurizing, or might be asking the team to take more tasks or more work, or not getting the stories, meeting the definition of ready, or it could be anything, right? That is where the Scrum Master, as a Scrum Master, we should be helping the team and making sure, like, acting as a bridge or connecting point between a product owner and the team. If the same individual is playing both the roles, Scrum Master and product owner, so whom the team can reach out to if in case they need any help or anything as such, right? So that is the point from my perspective, like same individual playing product owner and Scrum Master role. The previous question, organizations looking at Scrum Master role as like a not a full time. Yes, many organizations feel that way. There is nothing wrong in it, or there is nothing right in it. Even in couple of frameworks, they mentioned Scrum Master could be handling 2 to 3 teams, or Scrum Master is not a full time role. There are different perspectives, opinions coming up. That is all fine. As an individual, we need to figure out if in case I want to play that Scrum Master role, right? Am I ready to be that role? Can I be playing the dual role, like playing the Scrum Master plus the team member, or rather I want to be a Scrum Master for 2 teams, maybe at the same time, right? Parallel. That is what 2 to 3 teams is the most common way how the teams work. So you can be a Scrum Master for 2 to 3 teams. So we need to figure out where our strength is, what our career path, or what we want to go ahead, how we want to be. And then accordingly, we can take the next step. And that is what the today's discussion is all about. Like Scrum Master is not just for the facilitation, or Scrum Master won't come just for the sprint planning, the daily stand-up, 15 minutes of daily stand-up, and then the demo and retrospective backlog refinement. That is not just the role of Scrum Master. Scrum Master has many additional things, which if in case we take it up as like a full-time role, we have many things on our plate, which we can take it, which we want to focus on. That is all the points which we discussed as part of the session, Swastik. And yes, there are different reasons why the organization want to have a same individual play the Scrum Master and additional role. It is all up to the organizations.
Right.
Just to add on Swastik's question, if you allow me.
Sure, right.
Okay. So I think I understand that from where the Swastik is coming, because there are lots of organizations where they're saying that why we need a full-time Scrum Master. He just needs to schedule some meetings and be part of those meetings. He's not technical, he's not contributing, and all these things. So we need to think that what are the primary responsibility of a Scrum Master? So if the primary responsibility, you can list down 1, 2, 3, 10, 50, 100 primary responsibilities. Okay, let's start from the daily stand-up to a retrospective, to impediment removement, to what you can say, shielding the team from the outside world, or anyone. So if the team is self-organized and capable of doing that bit, you may not need to give 100% of your time as a Scrum Master to that particular team, because the primary responsibility of the Scrum Master is to make the team agile. Once the team is agile and stable, you don't need a dedicated 100% Scrum Master. You can move to another team and then start coaching that bit in there. So if the team is stable for 6 months, you don't need it. Someone from the team can start the stand-up and do the retrospective, because that's the objective, that's the primary responsibility of the Scrum Master. So when someone say that we don't need a full-time Scrum Master, this person can do it, then you need to ask this question: is that person is capable of challenging product owner to changing something between the sprint, or there's a conflict of interest between that particular person, maybe a senior developer or product owner, when they get pushed from business, because then the Scrum Master come into the picture and say, no, this will distract my team, I don't want to do that. So these are the things which Scrum Master do on day-to-day basis. And if the team is stable, focused, and the organization is also understanding the agile, you may not need a full-time 100% dedicated Scrum Master. But until that is the case, and you keep changing the team, you can keep changing the processes, team will not be stable, and you will need someone to shield the team to give business value. Even the organization don't see that on immediate basis, but for longer term, you need a dedicated Scrum Master to coach the team.
Or it can be, yeah, good explanation. Or Another case may be the shortage of projects, right? They have very limited projects. They might treat, you don't need a full-time Scrum Master, right? But the existing Scrum Master only can cater to all the needs, right? To whatever extent his or her roles and responsibilities are scattered. That might be one of the reasons, apart from what you said.
Yeah, before going into Nilesh's question, just want to add one more point, Swastik, right? See, as an individual, again, we need to do that assessment. Am I ready to play dual roles? Right. So we know that as a cricketer, Dhoni played the role of captain, the batsman, and the wicket keeper at the same time. But when we look at the other cricketers, some of them don't want to take that responsibility, or some of them step down even though they took the role of a captain, right? So each of us as an individual also, we need to do that assessment. Can I play the dual roles or multiple roles? Will I be able to do the justice, like as they mentioned, right? Whenever, if in case you have to end up continue doing that role, we need to raise it. Hey, as a Scrum Master, I am bringing this point. It's not like I'm bringing this question or raising the concern as a team member. As a Scrum Master, I want to bring this point to the discussion. Like that, the moment you start adding this before your question or a statement, that also will make a difference to the product owner or any stakeholder whom you're having a conversation. Nilesh, you want to go ahead? Yes, Umesh, we saw the question. We'll come back to it. Nilesh, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, basically, thanks, Umesh. You really brought up a good explanation for the discussion, and there was a wise discussion which really helped at least me and also the rest of the participants. And yeah, correctly said, Satish. But I defer to the thought that you mentioned. I mean, certainly you have a greater experience, and I'm quite a newbie over here. But I mean, how far we can say that Scrum Master is something like a bridge. I mean, in earlier days, we could have said that it's a bridge between the product owner and the team. But the basic values is altogether speaking about transparency, freedom, openness. See, if we are bringing these values with the team, then basically that would encourage the team itself to go to the product owner, and they shouldn't be dependent on the Scrum Master. So, I mean, our main responsibility is stop behaving like a bridge and kind of encourage an environment where then team can get their these kind of impediments sorted out by themselves. So basically I personally feel, I may be wrong though, it's somewhere parenting as well as coaching and mentoring, where parenting needs to get reduced to certain extent as we grow higher and higher. And basically what I foresee is, see, if our team is getting matured itself in agile as an aspect, so Scrum Master, I feel that we should start looking forward for how we can make it more mature, how we can move from Scrum to scaled agile for that matter, or how we can get the product goal aligned in that specific agile as an aspect. So that's one thing, and Umesh brought it really in a good way. I probably might have used incorrect words. Sorry for that. My question altogether is, I'm having some issues in understanding the estimation variance. I use this metrics quite well. I used it when it was for hourly basis effort estimation, but for story point, I'm not pretty good in it. So probably Sharath or anyone in the team can help me out on the same. But yeah, thanks guys for all the efforts which you are taking.
Yeah, Nilesh, no problem. Instead of explaining here, I will share with you one link. In fact, let me share now itself. Just go through that video where estimation variance in terms of story points is clearly explained in that. There's no panic. So I'll share with you. Okay. In fact, with everybody here.
Guys, one more small question. As per what Nilesh said, when teams become more matured and self-reliant and self-organizing, So are we looking at Scrum Master roles going down in like 5 to 6 years time? Like number of people is reducing? Is there a
Definitely not.
problem?
It's exactly opposite. The demand is increasing day by day.
Yeah, correct. Right now it's very much increasing. I understand. But if
So,
everybody
But Swastik, on the lighter note, do you still want to do the Scrum Master role for 5 years or 6 years? Or you want to move up and get something else?
no, not that.
It's not only about growing team, but growing on the self aspect as well. So upskilling, kind of moving towards self, safe as an framework, or being an agile coach altogether, kind of considering, looking forward for these members who are really bringing these sessions up, kind of following their pathways and growing in that aspect. Yeah.
And Neelesh, just to add on, right? See, when we mentioned act as a bridge between the product owner and the team, that is like a starting point, right? See, each team might take its own time and effort to move into like from the forming, storming, norming, performing stage. So we need to see where the team is, how the team is currently, and how we can help the team grow and move into the maturity stages, right? What are the way the approach we follow, right? It is like crawl, walk, run, fly, or forming, storming, norming, performing, or any approach which we track or which we follow at the organizational level, right? So the focus is, end of the day, we should make sure the team is a high performing, self-organizing, self-managing team. And our intention as a Scrum Master should be anytime we should, how soon, how quick we can move to the next set of team. Or maybe if in case we have to work with two teams, let the first team get mature to a stage and then start helping the next set of team as well. That should be our focus any point of time. If in case we, anytime as a person, again, it is my personal opinion, if in case we hear someone saying that, hey, I'm playing a role of Scrum Master for the same team for the 5 years, yes, maybe I might get some other thoughts on that. So how quick, how we can help the team, how we can mature the team, at the same time how we help ourselves as well as part of continuous learning and the career growth or anything as such. That is what our focus any point of time. And Umesh, you have a question. Can we have some sample project? Need to understand how we done. Sharath, do you have any
Yeah,
sample?
actually, I'm into the learning phase, and how Scrum Masters are doing the live projects. I want to know about the one sample project, how it is going through, and all the scripts runs and all the things. It
So,
will be helpful for me if I get any link.
sure. Umesh, there is no link where you can go to the sample project like that. But since the occasion came, I'm announcing this 31st August, I'm going to have a session on agile practices and Scrum for 3 hours. I'm doing a nominal charge of 5,000. So people who are interested can join that session where we will go through all the agile practices in detail and how the Scrum Master add value over there. Along with that, I'll be showing Jira and how the things work in a practical way in any project in Jira. So all those things will be shared there.
Sharath,
Okay.
you mentioned 31st August. Is it 31st August or 31st July?
Sorry, just to correct, it's 31st July.
Sure, 31st July, Sunday.
Yeah.
From where we can get the link?
We are yet to announce officially. Since you asked that, I just want to announce about that session. So in that session, we are going to teach everyone in detail, and we are not, profit each, just charging a nominal price. And our primary goal is to help everyone understand who are at the initial level, basic level, just to ensure that they have a good, solid understanding of the how agile things work, different practices we follow, practical ways of working. We are using any tool like Jira, how it works. Everything will be shared in that session in detail.
And Nilesh, you have another question?
Yeah. Earlier, I mean, like I was CSM certified and kind of I used the events, the basic events which were there, like the planning and grooming and all together. And recently, I happened to give PSM2 and passed although with flying colors. But then is the time when I revisited this Scrum guide altogether, and kind of found that altogether what I was doing, product grooming. Or refinement, what people call it as, that's basically, it has no say about it in the Scrum guide, the recent 2020 Scrum guide. So I was in a situation like, hey, Scrum Master's main responsibility is to make sure that make the team aware about what basically the Scrum should do, and basically I'm doing something which is not at all mentioned in the guide. So so that put me in jeopardy and in a weird situation. So can Sharath or Satish bring me out of this? How I should I keep on doing, or what I was doing, which is probably not correct as per the guide, or because it is working, so just it is working for the sake of it's working, I should keep on doing, or kind of self introspect and find up some solution and keep forward for the team that yeah, we were doing, it was working correct, but it wasn't as per the guide. My sincere apologies for the same, and this is the new way we would be working forward for. So I mean, I would like your inputs in this.
Right. So, Nilesh, here there are two cases, right? If you are wearing multiple hats, which Satish has told earlier, then your situation might be ideal, where you might be doing this PBR also, just to ensure that you are satisfying the responsibilities of both roles. But if you are only working as a full-time Scrum Master, then product backlog refinement is the sole responsibility of the product owner. Because most of the time, 95% of the time, is the product owner or proxy product owner who has complete command over the product and what are the new changes that they are trying to bring in, right? So based on that knowledge, they will try to see if they need to modify a particular story, or if that story is not making any sense, developing that, they might delete, right? Or they want to add new stories, right? So this will become a core responsibility of the product owner, right? Because he or she has good command over the product lines. So to my knowledge, these two cases, you choose where you are, in which way you follow. And if you're working in the full-time Scrum Master, then give back that responsibility to the respective product owner of the product. And others can also add their inputs. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, sir.
Satish, I think you're talking on mute. Satish?
Yes, Sharath. I'm just about to share my screen just to get the feedback. Just a minute. It is giving an issue. I'm trying to see. Okay. Okay. A typical issue. Okay. So we have a small feedback, sort of a retro. So let me share the link quickly in the chat. Okay. So if in case any of you want to share your experiences on any of the agile topics, yes. Okay. Yeah, you can reach out to me or Sharath, or you can ping us on the Telegram or the groups, or if in case you want to drop a note, yes, that is my email ID. You can drop a note. We can discuss and we can schedule a slot where you can bring in your experience or any of the agile topic which you feel can be helpful for the anyone across the world, across the roles. It could be anything, right? So we are also trying to do the same. So that's the thing. And the next question is like, you also let us know what is the topic of interest which you want to have the next session. Might not be immediate session, but again, we need to map the topics to the speakers who can present. That also, like, we can start doing it. So let us know. Might not be right now. You can ping us, you can share as well. Okay.
Share in the Telegram group. Yeah. If anyone of you are not part of the Telegram group, just let us know. We'll share the link. You can join on there. Lots of inputs, lots of material is shared out.
Okay. Nice pointers coming up. Yes. Thanks. Thanks, Nilesh.
We have good topics coming with Satish.
Yes.
More
These are
exciting.
the good. Yes.
Right.
Estimation techniques, conflict management, agile metrics, self-owned organized team. Okay. Simple retro again. What went well in today's session? Metrics, a lot of insight into full-time Scrum.
Yeah, thanks everyone for the great feedback.
I'm not able to see the slide, but definitely the Q&A session was well.
Thanks, Nilesh. What could have been done better? We got one pointer that having a Q&A in between or taking a pause and checking with the participants is also one way we can do the improvement. Yes. So what else? Interactive session. Yes. Okay. Anything you want to give a feedback? Examples? Okay. Thanks, Swastik. Thanks for the feedback, and thanks, Nilesh. Okay, so yeah, that brings us to end of our session. So we will post the recording and we will share the link of the recording for your reference. And once again, thanks for your time. Thanks for your active participation. That helps us. Yes, special thanks to Uday, Nilesh, and Umesh for bringing up the questions, and Swastik, yes, for making it interactive conversation. Thanks, everyone. Looking forward for our future sessions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Have a good day ahead.
Bye.